This is the concierge, sir.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and if I'm catching you on your commute back home to wherever you're from, or if you're just, it's just another Tuesday for you, happy, what is it? Happy, is that happy? Merry Christmas, everybody. So Merry Christmas if it's, I think this is going to be coming out on Tuesday. So if you are going somewhere for Christmas, Merry Christmas, and if you celebrated Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah, all the holidays, obviously. But in today's episode, we're going to be going over my best of 2025, or my favorites of 2025 as we head towards 2026. So I thought this is always kind of like a fun episode to sort of wrap up sort of the year. We'll probably still have a couple episodes before the new year actually hits, but those are going to be more like focused on New Year's and that kind of thing. But this episode itself is going to be focusing on some of my favorites over the year, some of my favorite experiences, some of my favorite spots in town, and a couple of things to keep in mind as we go into the new year. So we'll be jumping into all of that coming up next. Okay, everybody, so I just have a couple categories here. I can't list every single category in the world because, one that I should have on here is, my favorite spa, but I don't really go to spas very often, so I can't really give you, my favorite spa in town. So I have a couple categories that I outlined. I have favorite hangout, favorite restaurant, favorite steakhouse, because people love steakhouses, favorite hotel, favorite casino, there is a difference, favorite cocktail that I tried, I'm really excited to explain that one, and maybe one of my favorite local spots. So I will dive into it. Let's start with the obvious one first. Everybody always hears me talk about this, that Delilah's is my favorite hangout for this year, maybe every single year going forward, but this is essentially my favorite spot. They do now serve brunch, so if you're somebody who wants to try their brunch because you can't get in there for dinner, their brunch is strictly on Saturdays. I think they're going to start doing Sundays soon, but specifically they are open for Saturdays as we speak now. I went on Saturday this past week. Was not very busy, although this is one of the slowest weeks of the year in Las Vegas, so that could have been why. It was also probably the end of their brunch service, which could have played into why it was so dead. But if you are trying to go in there, see what the inside looks like and experience it, brunch might be your best option. But with that being said, we go to Delilah's to be seen and to see people. Delilah's itself, wonderful place to go for a big holiday. If you just want to have a drink at the bar, that's the reason to go. If you go there late night, it's always fun to sort of end up there. It really has the vibes of we ended up at Delilah's after a great night at in the casino, or if you had a great concert and you want to have a nighttime nightcap. It's a really fantastic spot. Yes, it is a very expensive place, but honestly, it's one of the things that still makes me think that Vegas can be Vegas again. Does that mean that Vegas will get more expensive in the near future? Probably, because it costs money to put on these things. So it is one of those things where, yes, it is expensive. I know people have trouble with that. Totally get it. You're coming out into town. You don't live here every day. You can't experience it a week when you can do it. It's tough, but I do think it's worth going and having at least one cocktail to say that you were there, and you never know who you're going to see at Delilah's. So it is my favorite hangout of 2025, and it's really not anything close. It's one of my favorites. Last little tidbit about it. If you do end up going to Delilah's and you end up eating there, or if you get enough drinks that you can say you ate there, make sure that you take your receipt to the hostess right before you go outside of the restaurant, and they can validate your valet parking if you want to park valet, and it is free. So that's very, very nice. So moving on to another one that I think is going to be pretty easy to figure out. My favorite overall favorite restaurant in Las Vegas is definitely Mother Wolf. Mother Wolf is my favorite restaurant in town. I will go there if I ever bring somebody who has never been to Las Vegas, but they want to experience like a Vegas-style nightclub. Sorry, Vegas-style, restaurant at its finest. I love Mother Wolf. Obviously, this comes from Los Angeles, so I can't say it's Las Vegas style, but it's one of the most authentic Roman cuisine restaurants in town, the most amazing pasta I've ever had, and I do go there for the food. A lot of restaurants I go to because I like their bar, I like their bartenders, I like their cocktails. I do love Mother Wolf's restaurant specifically, and I will actually drink less so I can eat more at Mother Wolf at Fontainebleau. I love Mother Wolf. I think it's, to me, the restaurant. If you came to Vegas and said you got to try one spot, I love Mother Wolf. I also like that you're able to make reservations for that place. A lot of places, it's really hard to get reservations for like some of the best ones. And Mother Wolf, as long as you book enough out in time, you can usually get a reservation for Mother Wolf. I also love their SPQR. Sorry, guys, I have like these allergy things going on. So if I sound kind of funny, I apologize. But I love their SPQR. It's sort of their like take on an old fashioned, which essentially has like a little bit of like a hazelnut taste to it, which is, makes it very, light and sort of like more nutty than like a really acidic or really deep-spirited old-fashioned. But the SPQR is a great cocktail at Mother Wolf that highly recommend you try. So I know I'm kind of running through these really quickly, but I probably ate it, kind of just going back to this, I've eaten at Mother Wolf probably at least 5 or 6 times in the past year, maybe more. I might be lowballing it, but that place is really good. I took my brother there, I took my mom and my dad there, and I really enjoyed it. The thing is with my family is that when I take them out to restaurants, and for those of you who travel frequently or go to certain places and you want to bring your family with you, and you had like this really great experience there, you never really know how someone's going to react to it. Like, the things they're going to like on the menu. But a lot of, like, my family specifically, like, doesn't have like this crazy, oh my God experience when they go someplace. So I get really sad when they don't. But I have to say, my dad did have a really fantastic experience at Delilah's when he went. He was like, oh my God, this shrimp is the best shrimp I've ever had. Oh, this is so good. So I'm glad that he had that, because it's funny because I didn't have the same reaction when I had like an 8 at Delilah's for the first time. I was like, the food's fine. I'm here for the vibes. Vibes is important. So let's actually like get away from the steakhouse for a second, even though it'd be nice to keep all the restaurants together. But let's split it up because a lot of food talk sort of at the top. My favorite casino. What is my favorite casino? What constitutes my favorite casino? This is specifically just the casino floor. So we're talking about table minimums, vibes, availability, approachability, a casino that I'd recommend somebody to come to Vegas to try it out. And I could easily say like Fontainebleau. I love Fontainebleau's craps tables. They move them, which is quite nice. I could talk about the Wynn. I could talk about Resorts World, Park MGM, all those strip properties. But we're going to go off the strip. We're going to be going to South Point. South Point is hands down the best old school casino in Las Vegas. And when I say old school, I don't mean that it's, stuffy. Or small. It's a very large casino footprint. And it feels like you're in a real hotel and casino. It doesn't feel like you're in a back room or anything like that. Large casino floor, a lot of table games, and very approachable. You can go to South Point any day of the week and find $5 tables. Are there a lot of people at the $5 tables at peak times? Of course there are, because everybody's awake and wants to play. But if you find yourself at South Point on like a Thursday or like a Monday after everybody's gone, you can usually find a $5, $10, or $15 table if you want. Double deck, which is very hard to find. Sometimes single deck. Double deck is the way to go, because single deck they shuffle too much. But you can find those tables available at South Point. They also have $5 and $10 and $15 craps tables. Same thing with roulette. You can find, $5 and $10 roulette tables. You can find baccarat, pai gow. They also have a very, very nice bingo hall, which is very, very popular. It's a little bit more old school than, say, places like Red Rock that have like a huge state-of-the-art bingo hall with like emo bingo, which is, bingo's getting really big with the millennials and the older millennials, if you will. But Also at South Point, they do have a nice old school style sports book, really straightforward and easy. I wouldn't say they're the best sports book in town because they do not offer very many things on their menu because they're independent kind of hotel. They don't have a lot of hotels or an apparatus to support that. So they can maybe take some higher limits, but they don't have a lot of the player props that you'd want. They don't have a lot of game-specific props, obviously, that you would get at places like Circa or MGM or Caesars, which those places still kind of suck anyways. MGM and Caesars I'm talking about, not Circa. Circa is nicer, a little bit sharper book, but they do have an absolutely fantastic menu of player props for standalone games, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But other than that, they also have at South Point the great $1.25 hot dogs, which are really delicious. Really delicious for $1.50. Let's not get, super, super crazy. It's $1.50, sorry. And they have a standalone race book, which my dad loves. They have a poker room, and a large, large footprint in their casino is dedicated to slot machines. So it's really fantastic in terms of gaming. I think South Point has one of the best casinos in town. It's really well run. And I really support, what South Point is doing. So if you're somebody who's new to gambling and you come to Las Vegas, it's a little bit, you got to go south of the Strip. It's about 10, 15 minutes. If you're taking a car, take a car. If you take the bus, Jesus Christ. But if you do take a car, free parking, which is pretty normal for off-strip properties. But it's a great place to learn. You do get a lot of old people, so you might get somebody telling you what to do, but if you don't want to have to gamble a lot of money, but you want to try it out, South Point is definitely the move if you want to find a really good casino. So shout out to the South Point. So we talked about sports books, which I actually didn't write this one down. But what would I consider the best sports book in town? I don't think I'm differing from the rest of the world when we say that Circa Las Vegas has to be the best sports book experience in the city of Las Vegas. You hate to be like the person who just follows the trends, but it has the best screens. They have really one of the better menu of betting options where they do list a lot of things. They list them pretty early. Most places list, Sunday night for NFL games for the next week. They do that as well, but they are really one of the sharper books, which isn't like a great thing. Me and my dad and my brother and my cousin competed in the Circa Survivor contest this year, which was super, super fun. I think we'll have to do it again next year. Eagles, you guys suck, just so you know. Eagles, you guys suck. We were part of that Thanksgiving massacre, which really was not great. But it really is one of the best places to watch games. I don't like the setup with, the stadium style seating because I like to stand. Not a little places to stand there. It's a lot of you have to pay for your spot, but that's the way that modern sports books have to operate because that's how they have to, make money. Because for those that don't know, sports books don't make a lot of money just on straight up bets. They make money off of obviously parlays. They make money off of the sportsbook apparatus as well. So it is one of those things that, it's not necessarily for me, but as a consumer, I want to watch a sports book in a big giant space with a seat. Do I have to pay for it? Sure, but I get it all day. That's probably going to be the best option. And then as well as their pool on the top floor, which you can pay and come in for like a day pass, which isn't too shabby. So they are my favorite sports book in Las Vegas. Not the most convenient for me now. I live on the south end of the Strip, so I don't actually go to Circa very often. This is like a funny little fact that you guys may not know. I do not have a sports betting app, and that is because it is about it's about knowing yourself and putting up guardrails that that you're a compulsive person, and if it's in your hand, you're probably going to use it. So I don't use apps. I don't gamble that much on sports, usually just for football, and it's nicely conveniently located only on one day, or Monday, or Thursday. So I really have to make an effort to have to go to a casino to make a bet. But it's all in the mind, guys, all in the mind. So As we move on, we'll stay in this sort of general space. So we will talk about my favorite hotel. This is actually a pretty good little thought exercise because this would encapsulate the whole hotel experience. So I don't really include the casino in that in terms of me actually playing. This is how I sort of spaced it out. I want to know like the overall feeling of the hotel. And I really, really think hotels that have an identity will always win out because that is what the founding of Las Vegas was for. Well, not really, but it's what I thought Vegas was for. It was a place for the, mobsters to hide their money. But really, that's just a joke for anybody like tuning in, like trying to get history on Vegas. That's not exactly why Las Vegas was founded. So, but overall, Vegas hotels, to be successful, have to know their audience. And knowing your audience is the first step in being successful in Las Vegas. Are you going to be expensive? Are you going to cater to the luxury class? Are you going to cater to, which is very tough nowadays, the middle class? Are you going to shoot for the budget-friendly hotel, which comes with its own hang-ups and things you have to worry about? Volume is a big deal. What do you want to be? And a hotel that I think does the best at this particular part of the business is the Wynn Hotel and Casino. The Wynn Resorts, because you have to encapsulate Wynn and Encore, is they know who their demographic is. And of course, a lot of this was set up from the predecessor who actually opened the hotel, Steve Wynn, and then then Elaine Wynn, his ex-wife, who was on the board of directors. Now she passed away. A lot of this is actually set into the DNA of the company. So it's really important that the board of directors knows who their audience is, how to market to them, and understand that they are not going to be in the same business as, say, let's say Treasure Island or Park MGM. I think that's a really good comp. Is like Park MGM to Wynn, because Park MGM is actually quite nice on the inside, and it could be like look to see like a step up middle class, like upper middle class, if you will, but not quite luxury. But there is a difference you can tell between the Park MGM and the Wynn. It's all the little details that go into it. A hotel that is trying to compete with the Wynn would be places like the Aria or the Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau specifically, and I think Fontainebleau is not quite there yet, but they have the makings of stealing those clients. Like Aria, like they always say they're Sky Suites. So Aria Sky Suites against like the Wynn in general. But I was just at the Aria. Aria has a really wide-ranging restaurant program, which really puts them in the upper echelon because they just have the new Indian restaurant. They also have Din Tai Fung, which is a very, very popular dim sum spot. They have Jean Georges, which is their steakhouse. And then they also have Carbone, of course. That's the one I was forgetting, which is very trendy for celebrities. But there's just something about they have Javier's, which is super popular with everybody. There's something about the Aria that feels, and I've heard this many times, not just by me, feels very sterile. It feels like a property that it wants to be the Wynn, but it doesn't have that like lush hospitality, warm, welcoming feeling that the Wynn has. The Wynn knows that it's bright, it's lush, it has these wonderful tapestries that make you feel just luscious, and it also is just like the Wynn is so much closer to the Plaza in New York than Aria is, for example. The Aria just feels cold on the inside. It feels like a big giant building. The Wynn feels like an amusement park ride for adults because you're walking through every corner, and as every corner you go around, there's something new to explore. It has a main focus, and then you can scoot out from that and find all these little exciting pieces in different corners of the property. And then it also just has so many great signatures on the inside. It has the Lake of Dreams. It also has, of course, Delilah's, like I mentioned earlier. It has this beautiful shopping walkway, which you can go in the Wynn Plaza. And it has this whole other property next door called the Encore, which does feel like just another space that has other great restaurants like Casa Playa if you like really want coastal Mexican cuisine. I actually spoke with the woman that I hung out with at Delilah's, which if you guys haven't found or listened to that episode, which is how to spot a prostitute, I left that out on Friday. Make sure you guys go back and listen to that because it's, I think, one of my best works yet. But she actually is vegan and she ate at Crossroads at Resorts World, and then Casa Playa, which had really great vegan and vegetarian options. But love the Wynn. I did just eat at Charlie's, which is their sportsbooks. Do not get their Caesar salad. It is the most basic ass Caesar salad you'll ever try. I was not a fan of the guy that was serving me. Also, the service at Charlie's, little bit of a problem. If I didn't like their wings so much, I wouldn't ever go there. But their soda's really good. But the service is always weird. Like everybody is always zoned out, and I never could put my finger on it. But that aside, love the Wynn, love the property. 3 hours free parking for locals, which that's a very nice thing to do. I mean, we all know locals should be able to park for free, unlimited. But in these times, we will take anything for free. 3 hours, that's a respectable time. I could do things in 3 hours. Thank you very much. I can go to your hotel, spend money, and then leave. And I feel good. So that is my favorite hotel is the Wynn. There is no rhyme or reason to this list. If I was really doing this correctly, my favorite hotel would have been last. But as I produce this show, I could do what I want. But if I was a producer for somebody else's show, I would have said that should have been at the end. But, editing. So, as we move down the list, let's see here. Haven't done a food one in a while. So, my favorite steakhouse. I know you guys are going to come at me because this is a chain. Sometimes I'll tell people I love Carver Steak, which I do. Fantastic restaurant. I've been to Delmonico's. Really good at the Venetian. Fantastic. I will say my favorite steakhouse on the Las Vegas Strip is Smith & Wollensky. I love Smith & Wollensky. It's one of the best places to get a somewhat affordable steak. Great sides. So many sides. This is very much a old school, it's a brand, old school steakhouse that you can get in Las Vegas. It feels like you're in Vegas when you're in there. Yes, I know it's in the mall, but the Venetian Mall. But their steak is so good. I love their Palms puree. It's so delicious. Great sides. And you can actually get a steak, depending on the steak, guys. You know what I mean? You can get a steak, a side, a cocktail, and a dessert for $125, which I know sounds like a lot, when you read it off the tip of your tongue, but the cake is huge, the steak is huge, and then the potatoes are just fabulous. And you get a wedge, a beautiful wedge salad with ranch. Okay, now we're looking at $130, $140, but you catch my drift. It's doable. Lots of cuts of steak. I love when there's lots of cuts to choose from. Really, really nice. So Smith & Wollensky, I know you guys are going to hate that I picked it. I love Smith & Wollensky Steakhouse. If you guys don't want a chain, fine, I'll give you one. I went when my parents came to town. We were celebrating, paying off something, and not a bond. And we ate at Barry's Downtown Prime at Circa. Barry's is very good. It's a very expensive restaurant. I'm not going to lie. Smith & Wollensky, much more approachable. A lot more sides on the menu that I like to eat. But Barry's was very, very good. Anybody, and I know you guys are going to hear this a lot, if you listen to the place that I used to work at, they'll always say like, "Oh my God, Andiamo is so good. Andiamo. Andiamo is not that good. I've eaten there. You guys can go back and check the Instagram. We had a bunch of food. It's affordable. I don't like it. I was not a fan of like the weird lentil soup thing that they gave you. It's right. The entrance is by the bathroom, which like, it's the first thing that you think of when you go there. But the reason they're always pushing it is because they don't need to push Barry's, because Barry's is actually good. They need to push Andiamo. And if I hear another person tell me that Hugo Cellar is good, get out of my face. Get out of my face. It can't be good. It's in, the Four Queens. No, I am not going there. For those who listen to this podcast and you guys are big fans of Vegas, I know you guys all have your own favorites, and that's phenomenal. And sometimes like you think like, oh, like nostalgia. You guys know me. I've been doing the podcast for almost 3 or 4 years now. You know that like how I see things. So yeah, not my thing. I'm never going to be over. I'll never come over to the team that says that, Hugo Cellar is worth it. Just get out of here with that. So I also lost a headpiece as I'm going here. Anyways, as we continue on, let's get off of the Strip for a second. So the last two things that I have on my list here are my favorite local bar, my favorite cocktail that I tried. I will also tell you my favorite rooftop view in Las Vegas is actually the lobby bar at the Waldorf Astoria, which I actually think it's called the Peacock Bar, to be honest. I have to check that, but it's really easy because you just go up to, like, let's just say the 30th floor or 16th floor. I always forget the floors, man. You always go to the place that you're able to access for free at the Waldorf Astoria. Just walk in, look like you belong there. And you open up to this beautiful view of the Las Vegas Strip looking north. And one day when I'm able to go to Hard Shake, which is the bar that's right next to it, their craft bar, I will go and I will tell you guys how it is. But for now, love the view from the Peacock Bar at Waldorf Astoria. It's absolutely wonderful. It is just a classy place. It feels like you're on top of the world. And It feels very much like a high-rise bar you would get in New York City. That's really the feel it gets. Even the bar itself just looks beautiful. It has this big giant peacock made of glass, and then the bar itself, and then all of the cocktails are named after classic movies. I love that shit. I eat that shit up. If you want me, Brian Ortega from the Concierge Confidential podcast, to come to your bar, tell me that your menu is themed after movies or classic movies in general. I will be there the first day, the absolute first day. Execute, but I will be there the first day. Love it. Love, 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 love. So going back to my favorite local bar in town, I was just there for their holiday celebration or their holiday themed time of the year. And that is Nocturno in the Arts District. I really, really enjoyed this place. They actually had a fantastic holiday. And, like, they went all out. They're just firing on all cylinders right now. And whenever you're thinking of, like, man, this place knows how to make a cocktail, they just do. They had a whole menu set up just for their holiday time. They're actually doing a pop-up during December 29th. So mark this down. Nocturno is doing a pop-up the 29th, December 29th, at the Cosmopolitan Chandelier Bar. Chandelier Bar is doing this with a lot of like local bars in town. Great idea, by the way. Really fantastic idea for Cosmopolitan to do this. MGM Resorts, I guess. They made so many good cocktails. They had 2 like eggnog like infused cocktails, which that's your thing. They have a whole menu of like hot cocktails, which I did not partake because I don't like hot Alcohol, just not my thing, but some people do. And then they also had like 3 or 4 like not fruity but brighter options, and then they had like 2 or 3 spirit forward options, and they had a whole different like menu for their food, which there was like a short rib, and then they had 2 other options which it's escaping me. Oh, calamari. They had calamari, short ribs, and then a nice little dessert as well. But man, I really enjoy that bar. I think they are going to be very successful. They don't need me to say that. Like, they just know that. Lou, the brand, he's my guy. Whenever I'm trying to figure out, like, hey, like, I need to, like, learn a new cocktail or do something, they're always know kind of how to just massage it for me. So really, really enjoy them, which brings me to my next point, and that is my favorite cocktail that I tried this year is a tie between these two. And that is the first one, which is the Maid, which is a gin or tequila-based cocktail with cucumber and mint. And I have to say, for those of you out there that have been looking for a cocktail, if you're like a whiskey person, and you want something like summery, like in the daytime, sort of fresh in the summertime, this is called the Maid cocktail. They may not know what that is wherever you go, because it's quite classic. If you're at like a super like snooty cocktail bar, they may know what that is, but they call it the Maid. It's essentially gin based with crushed ice or any ice in general, with mint and cucumber. So you have to know that they have an actual cucumber, not cucumber flavoring, cucumber water. It has to be an actual cucumber with mint, which they should have mint. And then you can do tequila or gin as the base part of that cocktail. And it's super fresh, refreshing, delicious, sharp, citrusy. But it is called the Maid, and it is so good. I also tried. Most bartenders will know how to make this, and has a really fun story to go with it. And depending on who you're talking to, this might be a really fun, like, sort of conversation starter. And I actually got this for the first time at the Fountain Blue at the Collins Bar, which, I forgot to mention the Collins Bar. It's so good. The Godfather is one of my favorite cocktails that I've learned to have, and it is essentially scotch with, this is very much like, you got to be a heavy drinker to do this, or somebody who's really, comfortable drinking whiskey and stuff, and you want like the next level. But it's called the Godfather, which comes with essentially scotch and then some type of amaretto. I like the Serrano, but some type of amaretto to go in your scotch. This cocktail got its name from, they say, this is the story, that Marlon Brando was such a fan of Di Serrano amaretto, and he would have a splash of scotch with it, that they ended up naming this drink, because he's sort of the one who kind of invented it, The Godfather, after the character from The Godfather, or after the name of the book, The Godfather. So it's essentially scotch and amaretto. So thanks to Mr. Marlon Brando for coming up with the idea. If you would like a little nugget on like where this kind of came about, it's kind of a funny little nod. If you go to the show on Paramount called The Offer, and you watch towards the end, I think it's like the last episode or two, and they're having like a rap party, and the actor who plays Marlon Brando is talking to the bartender, and he says, "Can I get a scotch with amaretto? Or scotch with Di Serrano, please?" And then the guy who plays the producer for the film says, what do they call that? And then the fun part is that they don't say the name of the cocktail. But since I had actually had it made for me one time, I knew that. He just smiles and he says it's a delivery system. And it's called The Godfather. So really fantastic. I love it. So The Godfather was one of my favorite cocktails that I tried. I also tried a Rusty Nail for the first time, which, despite the really off-putting name, it also has scotch in it. And then Chambord. Sorry, guys, I was doing so good without having to search for these. But the Rusty Nail the Rusty Nail Drambuie. So it comes with Scotch whiskey, and Drambuie mixed together with orange peel. And I didn't hate it. It was really good. And what made me really happy was that I found out that the Rusty Nail was a favorite of a lot of the members of the Rat Pack, which makes it very much a Vegas cocktail. I do think it needs a better name, though. Rusty Nail is a really bad name. So that's all I got to say. So I think I covered a lot. I think I covered all the stuff I wanted to cover. So I was going to, in this episode, explain what I'm excited to try for the next year. But I will actually do that in its own podcast coming up in our own episode coming up in a couple days. So we'll be doing that right before the new year, most likely. Restaurants that I'm excited to try, things I want to do differently with the pod, or at least experience, obviously, and things that I hope to do more with you guys going forward. So we'll be doing that on another episode. What I'm more excited, or what I'm excited to try in the coming years. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your holiday. And if you see me out in town, which you won't, but feel free to, tag Concierge Confidential _LV from Instagram when you do come to Vegas, so we can see where you are and we can repost it if you'd like, because what happens here stays here. But if you want to, if you see me out in town in the future, come up and say hello. But remember, keep it confidential.